Hello and welcome to Skeindeer Knits. My name is Ellie and I am a Norwegian living and knitting in London, and you can find me as Skeindeer on Instagram and Ravelry. Welcome to the podcast. Whether you are new to this podcast or you have been with me for a long time, I just want to say welcome here. I am probably right now most known for being the designer behind the Selbu Mitten Club and the hostess behind the associated knit along. And for that I just want to open by saying thank you so much for your support for that club. It's been insane. I can't believe how huge that thing has become. I'd never imagined when I announced this. I mean, I had kind of aired the idea of, like, I told a few friends that I was planning this thing, and people sort of had got optimistic but lukewarm expectations, so that's kind of where I put my expectations as well, and then it was just like it's everywhere and it's really cool. And I have just released the third of the altogether 4 installment, and that is the Flora mittens. So I thought I would just open by showing you the Flora mittens, or Flora as we call them, Flora mittens. Now, Flora is a place just outside of the center of Selbu, so it's still within Selbu area, and I just had to go with that name because they look very floral. So I just did that. It's a lovely, like, the kind of pathway that you drive from center of Selbu out to Flora is wonderful. It's a very narrow valley with this river which is near, and like the steep foresty hills. It kind of reminds you of those kind of western Norwegian fjords that you see on postcards and stuff, but it's just a river and it's wonderful. Anyway, the mittens, this is what they look like. I've used Navia Trio for these. I think Navia Trio is perfect. That and Edoma 3-ply yarn, definitely my favorites for these mittens. They fit, just to show that, you know, nice snug cuff, good size mitten. There's a wriggle room here, I think that's important. And yes, I use the 22 stitch gauge. That fits my hands better. If your hands are a bit smaller, then a 24 stitch gauge might be your thing. Also, you can experiment beyond that, I would say. So yeah, thank you so much. These have been so well received on Instagram. They just kind of exploded, really. That was truly unexpected. Not unexpected, because I have, like, willfully planned it so that the mittens just become better and better and better, because I saved my favorites for last. So in that sense, I'm very happy that it was well received, because this is the one of the kind of 2 pairs that I've been, like, extra, you know, about. So yeah, I'm gonna put them away now, but you get the idea. As for other pattern releases, I am really grateful that the Nisselue of mine has been so well received. It's a free pattern that I have given to all of you for all the support I've received lately, and having 5,000, more than 5,000 subscribers, and a pretty huge following on Instagram as well. Yeah, so that is a pattern that was totally way more well received than I ever thought it would be, and I'm kind of almost regretting that I gave it away for free. I'm just joking. Enjoy. It's just a very simple hat with a long tail. As for other pattern releases, I don't have any as of right now, but please just keep an eye on Ravelry, because I will really try to get these out soon. I am kind of gathering test knitting feedback right now. I think they're all done, actually. I'm just trying to knit up the second pair so that I have some good photos, but I might release these sooner. Just kind of have a look on Ravelry. Maybe by the time you watch this episode it's already up. The thing is, I'm just not going to be able to record another episode until I'm back from New York and Vancouver, and I'm going to Vancouver on Thursday. Yeah, I think it's the 9th of November, and then I'll be going to New York on the 13th, and I'll be back here sometime after that. So just keep your eyes peeled. I will announce it on Instagram, I will announce it on the Ravelry group, but it will definitely, I mean, yeah, so these are coming out soon. I just don't have them ready as of right now because I need better photos and work on the feedback I've gotten to touch up on the pattern a little bit. The main thing is just that the cuff And this is a very snug cuff, which some might like, but it's very difficult to get these on, so it's not very practical. So I have experimented with two things. One is going up a needle size. So instead of knitting the same needle size for the cuff and the mitten, you actually go up half a size just for the cuff, which makes it longer, a bit looser. It fits really well, but it looks a bit wonky. I like it, but what's even better is to go down half a needle size but add another 11 stitches, which is the pattern repeat of the lace. That seems to work out really well, which is what my test knitters have done for me, and yeah, very optimistic about that. So still debating with myself whether to just include the latter or all three methods, or maybe put the other two methods in the appendix or something. I don't know. I have other things to thank you for as well. I mean, the Yggdrasil mitts have really been well received, but I'm not going to focus so much on my own patterns from now on, I don't think. I do want to, however, thank you for your, I mean, there were just so many really thoughtful responses to my last video. Like, I'm always really happy and proud of my comment sections of my videos. I think, yeah, I get a lot of thought through comments. But the last video was just particularly so. I can't really explain it. I just thought thank you for, it was a joy to go through those comments, basically. So thanks. And thank you for the name suggestions for those dear mittens. I am still thinking about that, but just putting that out there. Thank you. And I also want to mention quickly that I am doing a de-stash. There's a link below. I've also linked to it on Instagram, that I am selling off a small portion of my stash because I have had it for a long time and I'm realizing I am not knitting with it, so I'm probably not going to. It's all laid out next to me here, so I can quickly go through it. I have a pile of Susan Crawford Fenella yarn. It's a very, very nice soft woolen yarn that I just think it's lovely, but I found that I'm not working with it. I'm gravitating to the war sticky yarn, what some might deem stickier. This is just a bit too smooth for me, but it's definitely all woolly and woolen, so it might be a good compromise for some. So there are two green ones, one white and one orange and one yellow. I am getting rid of some hedgehog fibers. This one is intact, but the remaining bit has just been caked up, so just beware of that. It is the best color I have in my stash. I'm just not that fond of this particular base. I'm not gonna knit with it, even though this color is to die for. I'm crazy for giving this thing away. Oh well. There is this Knitting Goddess multicolored kit because I ended up using a different base of hers in the end, so no point in giving that. There is third volt yarn and debonair. Should I pick something else? I've got 3 skeins of Triskelion yarns. I adore this yarn, but quite frankly, me and cashmere don't get on. It's got a fair bit of cashmere in it, and I just don't think that's my jam. And same goes for this skein of woolen vine. I know I'm nuts for giving this away. I just think yarn with cashmere is for shawls, and this doesn't do well with my complexion. I know. Let's not think about it. I just, oh god, I'm gonna miss that skein. I also have a pile of woolly knit yarns. It's a superwash merino, but it actually doesn't feel that superwashy. So I think it's really nice, but I've had it for a while. I've not knitted with it, and I'm just gravitating towards the more sticky yarns. So yeah, but I've been to the mill actually, and it's a wonderful mill. I also have a pile of drops Paris that you can get really cheap because it's hardly worth anything. It's just like if you find that you want to work with Aran weight cotton, like a bag or something, then yeah. So yeah, there are a bunch of other yarns on my desk as well, but I just thought I'd cover that and give you a chance to take part in the auction on Instagram. I should really have closed it up already, but I just thought I'd give you a chance, those of you who do not follow me on Instagram. Although, seriously, why not? What is wrong with that plane that is really low? I just feel like air traffic has gone like closer to the ground lately in London. It's time to move out to the countryside, guys. And the other thing I want to mention, this is very chop chop chop, very lots of small sections here. I just want to tell you what I'm wearing. I am wearing, what's it called? Gred. It's good. It was on the front page of, or the cover of the first edition issue of Braude Garn. And yeah, it's got this sort of like a structure kind of lace knit thing happening in the stripes. I used a gradient from Joan Arbon, and I used Sölje by Hillesvåg, which is fingering weight pelt wool and is lovely. And this thing keeps me so warm. It's like a 3/4 pie shawl, so not only does it drape around your shoulders, but it comes all the way in front here. I adore this shape. I think it's really underutilized. It is designed by Nina Petrina, who is a yarn dyer as well as designer, who I ran into at Oslo Knitting Festival. So absolutely lovely shawl, very like nice to wear, just to kind of keep your back and shoulders warm, because it goes all the way down here as well, so you know, it goes way down to my bum, so it doesn't leave any bits of me cold. I also wanted to just take a small little moment to thank you for kind of your support. It's been an ongoing theme since August really, that I've not been doing too well. It also happened during June, where I was away from the podcast for a month because I wasn't doing well. I have decided not to talk about why here, because it doesn't go online, to be honest. But I've had so much support and encouragement from this little Skeindeer community here, so I just wanted to thank you for that. I wish I could tell you that I'm doing better, and unfortunately that is not the case, but this whole knitting thing and all the opportunities and adventures that it has offered me has greatly helped. So yeah. So before we get into my knitting stuff, we have some KAL winners to announce, because the flea cardigan knit along has been wrapped up. Now I should really be wearing my flea cardigan, but I don't know where I put it. It's probably in my bag. It's always in my bag because I bring it everywhere, because I wear it all the time. But yeah, me and Kristen of Wool and Vine Yarns and the Orgasm podcast have been having a knit along since about May, I think, and it wrapped up on the 31st of October, and the submissions have been submitted and winners have been drawn. I use random.org, which is fair and random, and I don't get to decide the winners. And the winners are, and I say winners because I decided to draw 2 winners, because I think it's such a feat to have just done this. So the first winner is, I want to get this right again, pattibaudo. I don't know. I'm writing it here, but yeah. Congratulations. I feel like you won a KAL for me before, or a gift or a prize or something, but maybe it's just because you've been such a loyal member of the Ravelry group, so I feel like it's very well deserved. And I'm sure you are curious what you are winning. Well, you are winning these 2 skeins from Arctic Yarns. She was so kind and gave me tons of yarn, both for me and to give away. And this is in pelt wool. This is the very yarn that I am wearing here. So let's just look at this a bit closer, because this color is gonna hurt to give away, honestly. It is called Revenka, and that is a character from a Norwegian fairy tale. The base is called the Aslad or Askeladden, which is another character from a fairy tale, so the theme is very on point here. But yeah, the colorway is like a very warm orange rust. Yeah, very fox-like, which is what Revenka is. She's a fox. She's the fox widow, actually. This is also the Aslad. Doesn't seem to have a name because this is the undyed color. So it is basically dyed yarn from Hillesvåg by Arctic Yarns. And if you don't know, Arctic Yarns is Emilia Björna of the Arctic Yarn podcast. Or is it Arctic Knitting? She has a podcast, that's what I'm trying to say. Yeah, so congratulations, you get 2 skeins. What's the meterage of them actually? 350 meters each. It is absolutely lovely yarn. One last look at the logo before I put that away. Yeah. And there is another winner as well, and that is Heska. I don't know if that's like misspelled hexa, but Heska. So congratulations. And what you are winning is this crinkly kit. Now this is my kit, but when you get in touch with me, I will pass on your address to Wenche, who will be sending you your very own kit from Norway. It seems like a very convenient way of doing it, given that you live in Norway. So those are the 2 winners. Except you get more, you 2 winners. You will also get a pattern, which is the Half Moon Oracle Shawl by Kristen. So you get... and I also forgot to mention, oh my god, I am just so lost. The point was for you to get 2 patterns each and some yarn. So Patty, you also get a pattern with this, of course. You get the pumpkin spice mitten pattern. If you have it already, then I can give you another pattern from my shop. But yeah, this is supposed to be like a pumpkin spice mitten kit. I just completely blanked. So anyway, let's just sum this up. I am just so scatterbrained today. So, pattibaudo something, get this with the pumpkin spice mitten pattern. And heska, you get this, which has a pattern in it already, and the yarn. And you both get the Half Moon Oracle shawl, which Kristen has so kindly donated to you. It is her new shawl pattern, which is basically half of the Oracle shawl, for anyone who doesn't want to make a full pie shawl. So yeah, half pie. This is a 3/4 pie, so this is more than half circle, if that makes sense. Yeah. So yeah, thank you all so much for taking part in the knit along. I don't really know what to say. It's just been so much fun. I honestly just, yeah, been one of the most fun knit alongs I've been hosting, and I've been hosting quite a few in my short time here on YouTube, so yeah, thank you. And now finally we're getting into my knitting. I actually have a finished object because I promised you that I would have one for this week, and I think if I hadn't made that promise I probably wouldn't have had it finished, because I just started knitting something entirely different, as you do. So I'm just going to be blabbering on about that project while filming it, because it is currently on the floor blocking, because, well, for some reason I decided to block this. I'm going to talk about why. And the finished project is of course the Birkin sweater by Caitlin Hunter. The pattern is to be found in the Lane magazine, the second Lane magazine, and yeah, it's absolutely beautiful. I mean, you have to kind of just hang in there when you're knitting with 3 colors at the same time, but it's so worth it. In the end, you get the best end product you could hope for. There are short rows in the neckline built in, which is wonderful. I greatly just appreciate when the pattern does that for me, because otherwise I'll have to figure out how to add it, and nah. I do have some problems with the short rows section kind of puckering up in my neck. It sort of seems to become this bump. Not 100% sure why. Maybe I added an extra short row in there because I have a short row gauge and I thought that would be good. Maybe it's also because I knitted that section a bit looser than I should have done. And it could also be due to the color work section, because there are actually very few increases for the yoke. So it's knitted top down and there is no change between the 2 green sections in color in stitch count. So that is a bit of a thing, that it becomes very tight around the shoulders, which is why I have blocked it the way I have, because I'm trying to give that sort of yoke shape, the rounded shape of a yoke, instead of looking more straight like a box. Because right now that's kind of the look it had before I gave it a block, and it wasn't very comfortable to wear because I can't really lift my arms. It makes the whole thing kind of creep up on my shoulders and makes the whole short row thing in the neck a bit bulky. So I'm just hoping blocking is going to fix it, and time will tell if that has helped. Other than that, my modifications have been making it long sleeved and slightly cropped. Like, it goes past my hips and belly, but it is shorter than perhaps it would have been if I followed the pattern. I'm not sure what the pattern said, I just did my own thing. But it definitely has longer sleeves. And the sleeves are a bit sort of gathered. I'm not sure how I feel about that. Maybe I should have just made them looser. But I was just so eager to finish it. I was like, fewer stitches. Yeah. But it's done. And I used Laxton's Limited fingering weight BFL mass ham. And I used the Knitting Goddess dyed version of that with sparkle for the color work, which is nuts. And now it's time to get into my works in progress, because I have been working a little bit on my Blåfjell sweater. I don't know how far I'd come last time. It's a bit hard to remember sometimes. But yeah, this is what it looks like. It is a design that I am working on. Ta-da! I'm using PT2, which is a Norwegian yarn comparable to Finulgarn, if you're more familiar with that. They kind of complement each other. They're both made by Roma. And this is the sleeve. Had I gotten this far on the sleeve last time? I don't think I had. So I guess that's the biggest progress. I'm keeping this yarn in, this stitch holding yarn in here, because that makes it easier to measure the length of the sleeve. As for the body, I've just kind of stopped when I ran out of yarn here, kind of decreasing towards the waist, and then I will decide later just how short I want it and where to put the rib and for how long to make the rib. And that is kind of how I'm tempted to write up the pattern, because I want you to fit this to you. So the sleeves will be just kind of, you know, not one size fits all, because obviously there'll be different instructions for different sizes, but just one full-length sleeve pattern. But as for the body, I really wanted to play around. I think I'm going to add some basic kind of, this is the rate at which you should increase if that's what you want to do. This is the rate that you should decrease if that's how you want to do it. And then you choose the length of the body and the rib and make it work for you. It's going to be difficult to explain, but I just think that matters so much more than just giving a kind of one way of doing it. To me, that never works. To me, they always become too tight below if I go with my bust size. Whereas if I go with my hip size, the bust size becomes too big. So yeah, holding that up, finally, just yeah, very, very happy about this thing. I think it's going to be so much fun once it's like done and ready and out there. I am still having lots of thoughts about tech editors. I've had some people offering, and that is nice. I'm definitely having you on my list. I'm just thinking about pattern grading, because I do have fairly good patterns done now. They vary by 2 inches bust size each. The problem is that because at some point the stitch count under the arms become bigger, and so for that you actually need to adjust the yoke, so the bust size, and there is a smaller size that right now has a bigger yoke than the larger size, which actually adds up to becoming a smaller size. But I can see why someone looking at the pattern will go, why am I making a bigger yoke than the person who is bigger than me? So I'm just trying to figure that out. It is difficult. Yeah, I just got a bit warm now. I always get too warm when I start recording, I don't know why. And that was my Brofjell sweater. That is my tentative name for it. I might just go with Brofjell. I like that name. It means Blue Mountain, and it's the name of the yarn, and I just thought that was cool. And I am now working on my other deer mittens. I talked about those in the beginning of the episode, in case you got a goldfish memory like I do. And this is where I'm trying the looser calf that still has fewer stitches. I'm still leaning towards the one with more stitches, and it's a bit tighter. Stitch gauge wise, it still should be easier to get on. And so yeah, I'm working up the second one. I've got a calf. I am working up the pattern. It's actually going relatively quick, so I hope, really hope this will be just done and ready before I head out to Vancouver and can just announce it then. So just keep an eye out during the week, see if it's on Ravelry. Anyway, there's that. I don't really have much else to say. I'm just making progress, trying to finish up in time. Keep your eyes peeled on Instagram and Ravelry. It's pretty much all I can say. And I will be announcing a early discount code to reward those of you who are just always there for me and support my patterns right away when they come out, because that is what makes them trend on Ravelry, and that is ultimately what makes it possible for me to do this. So I just kind of want to thank you and kind of, yeah, give you that. So there will be a discount code, and that will be announced with the release of the pattern on the group or Instagram. I would keep my eyes on Instagram, to be honest. It's, yeah, where things happen when they don't happen here on YouTube. And of course, these mittens live in this bag by the Knitting Goddess. I think it's fun. Now, I actually nearly didn't finish the Birkin sweater in time, because when I was so close to finishing, I decided it was a great idea to cast on one entirely new sweater. Why do I keep doing this? So the sweater in question is the No Frills sweater by Petite Knits, which is a Danish designer. So this is what we have. It is huge, a huge raglan sweater. So I don't know where to begin. We can talk about the yarn first. I have put some unused skeins here. This is the yarn I am using. I am using Pickles Pure Wool, which, as far as 100% wool goes, it's pretty darn soft. Very, very smooth. Doesn't, no, not prickly at all. And I say it gets even softer after a good wash. It's pretty incredible. So Pickles is a Norwegian yarn shop and company, and they do designs that you can at least look up on Ravelry. It is not a Norwegian wool, so it doesn't come from Norwegian sheep, but it's nonetheless pretty great. Love this elderberry color, and I am holding this double with Sandnes Silk Mohair. I mentioned a bit in the last episode that I ended up with a thicker silk mohair than I intended. So the standard silk mohair has about, oh, I don't know, a meterage of like 200 something meters in a 25-gram ball. This has that, but on a 50-gram ball. Why I do this? But it's burgundy, so it's fine. Yeah. So these two colors together are really just becoming something wonderful. So can you just, this color, I love this color. Now, I never thought I would knit with silk mohair, ever. And I think this will be the first and the last time, to be honest. Like, I'm loving this, but I don't think I need more mohair sweaters than this. Just, yeah, it's knitting up fairly quickly because it's a fairly big gauge, but it's also a bit slower because the mohair is so sticky. It actually kind of slows me down a bit because things get stuck in the mohair hairs. But yeah, just look at that color. Oh god. And the thing is, I had considered the rolls of mohair and wool, and I thought it's just gonna be wool but fluffier. I hadn't really considered the role of the silk in this, but the silk gives it this sheen and drape, but not a soft saggy drape, just kind of elegance, I guess. I can't really put it into words, but yeah. So I'm just, yeah, working up this huge sweater that is just gonna keep me warm for when I'm freezing, which isn't that rare. So this nice big warm burgundy sweater. Now I have done some modifications. I started modifying right away because I like a snug neckline, even when it has mohair, which is strange because mohair is soft in the skin but prickly when knitted up, which is completely backwards. But I want a snug neckline anyway, that's just what I prefer. So I was like, well, if I'm gonna make the biggest size because I want a big sweater, I don't want a big neckline. So I custom the smallest neckline and I worked a rib, and I figured, well, the smallest neckline is 12 stitches smaller than the biggest neckline. So I thought, if I can distribute the stitch markers so that I have for the front the number of stitches that you should have for the largest size, and for the kind of shoulder sleeve pieces 3 stitches each, so short of what I needed for the larger size, and at the back 6 stitches short for what I needed for the larger size. So that way, when I work the short rows across the back here before the increase points, there was no increases. When I did them across the increase points, the second short row had 2 stitches increased on each side, and I kept doing that for 3 short rows across the increase points in total, which gave me an extra 3 stitches on the sleeve, an extra 3 stitches on this sleeve, and an extra 6 stitches off the back, which turned out to be the size of the larger size. And then I could just knit the larger size from there on, and my increases would always be on the same round, which is not the case in the pattern, which is fine, but it certainly made it a lot easier to think about this and make it, I guess, a bit more mindless. So that's a modification I can definitely recommend if you buy this pattern and try to knit it up yourself. So I am making a big basic raglan, just like I said, just like I wanted. It's so much fun, really enjoying it, and it's very, very quick. As you can see, it's huge already. And that about wraps up my knitting for this week. I don't really have that much content for this week. Just been doing other things. I have 2 research posters to write up for my conference in Vancouver, and I also have 29 submissions to mark for a software that currently isn't working on my computer, so I have to get into work after this. I'm going mad. It's too much. It's too much. Anyway, that's just how life is, I guess. I wanted to tell you about something that I have done when I've been procrastinating, and that is a map. I have made a Google map. It was supposed to be just a map of Oslo yarn shops, but instead it's become a map of all the cities I have been to or plan to go to. So in general, it has all the yarn shops that I have been to in Oslo, Bergen, Stavanger and Trondheim. I think that's it. So if you're ever going to the major cities of Norway, you can look up that map and find the yarn shops. They just have points where the yarn shops are. I've not written anything, there's nothing there as such. I'm also now trying to make the yarn shops that I plan and hope to go to in Vancouver and New York. I probably won't be able to go to all of them, but I've already put them on the map so that you can know where they are as well. So yeah, that is the thing that you can use if you are going out traveling. The other thing I'm beginning to realize about this jumper, I had now thrown it on the floor because I thought I was done talking about it, but I'm realizing I bought way too much yarn, because every time I thought I needed more yarn for the Dagny dress that I'm going to make a sweater of, I kept adding a skein to that, and then I just kept adding a skein to this as well. So I have 6 skeins of this, and you know what, I have just started the second skein ball, excuse me. Okay, fun fact, this thing here that we call a skein, they're not called skeins, they're called hanks. What is actually called a skein is the thing that we call balls, the kind of oblong bullet shaped ones. This is a ball. So, fun fact, I don't care, I just thought that was funny. Anyway, so yeah, I just kept buying 6 balls for this thing when I really probably only need 2 or 3, because I've already used just 1 for this entire section, so I can imagine I'll need 1 more for the body and maybe 1 more for the sleeves at most. So I got 3 skeins left. Balls. Hanks. This is definitely not a hank. Got 3 balls left of Pickles Pure Wool, and I have been talking about the Mamelucker, I think that's how you say it. I can't pronounce Swedish, but apparently it's a Norwegian word as well. But the wool underpants by Maja Karlsson of Majas Manufaktur. I mentioned them in the last episode because I was outraged of the plagiarism that a big yarn company has done. I am done giving them publicity about this now, but I am really impressed and I adore the kind of uproar that has built up around this theft. So now people are really endorsing and supporting Maja's Mamelucker underpants. They're woolly underpants that you just knit in 100% wool and kind of sport to fingering weight. Fenil garn and Usk and that kind of thing would certainly work fine, but as would Pickles Pure Wool, and I have enough, so I think I might just be making myself some woolly underwear. I say underwear, I'm gonna have it outside my tights probably, just to keep my bum warm. Yeah, it's not really the area where I'm cold the most. Usually I'm cold on my back and hands and legs, but I want to have a woolly underwear, and I'm trying to think of my sizing now because I have slightly odd proportions. Like my waist is 80 something centimeters. I want to say like 87, 88. But if I measure the deepest point of my waist, it's way less. But I quite frankly don't want woolly underwear to stick in like way within my love handles. That's just not good. Whereas my hip is more like 100 something centimeters, because yeah, with belly and hips and everything in that area, that just becomes a lot bigger. So it's a big ratio, but it's also bigger than the measurements of the pattern. So I'm just trying to figure out these things, you know. But regardless, purple woolly underwear, why not? But I want to talk about this pattern just a little bit more because I think the movement around it has been just so eye-opening and inspiring and just awesome. But now the pattern has been translated into lots of other languages as well. So if you don't speak Swedish, it's in English, it's in Norwegian, it's in probably, I don't know, German, whatever. Like there's just lots of languages. You should just go look it up at Järbo's websites. I think there are also links for every language available on the Ravelry pattern page, which I have linked to below. So definitely worth looking for. And there are guides for how to adjust the underpants to different sizes, so definitely worth looking into as well. I think it's really helpful. I very much look forward to knitting some, and I just think everybody should be aware that this pattern exists. It's been very popular within Sweden and to some extent in Norway for quite some time now, and it's kind of getting out there, and I know a few other big knitting names are working on them as well. And yeah, I just really like the support in the knitting community when these things happen. So yeah. Oh gosh, this really is a short episode. I'm just gonna wrap things up now by talking about the modest acquisitions I have made this week. I probably hit order a lot of times online, but not that much has arrived yet. But I did order just a bunch of Knit Pro things. So as you will know, I was sent the Zing set from Knit Pro to review, and that would be a great thing to do in this video, but I'm really not prepared. But what I can say so far is with the needles that I have tried, which is mostly just in a smaller range, I really like the Zing needles. So I had the interchangeable Zings, but the only downside is that it doesn't come with a 3.75. It has 3mm, no wait, it doesn't. It has 3.5mm, 4mm, 4.5 and up to I think 8. And I need a 3.75, so I've ordered that because I do like the things. I also got 3.75 in Nova and 3.25 in Nova. I do have both of these from before, but they're always in some project and I have to screw them off a ongoing project, use them on another ongoing project, and it's quite frankly becoming a bit of a chore. So I figured I just needed more. Like, yes, I do have those sizes in Chaogu and Hayahayas as well, but those cables are not compatible, so then I'd have to change the whole thing and that would take time. And quite frankly, Novas and Zings are my favorites for garments and color work that isn't like small circumference. So when I do something like the Birkin, for instance, I want to knit with Zings. When I do the no frills, I want to knit with Zings or Novas. So, and also got 2 more cables because you always need more cables. And as I've been working with the no frill sweater, I realized my cables available right now are a bit short. Could use some bigger cables. And I bought a book. I keep buying knitting books. I love knitting books. Can't get enough of them. No idea how I would eventually get them to Norway if that's where I end up, but you can't really stop me. So I got the Sock Architecture book, which is a book that has fascinated me from hearing about it from others, because it seems to be loved and endorsed by anyone who is a new knitter or new sock knitter to well-experienced sock knitters. Everybody seems to love this book, so had to get it really. It's got nice things about taking your measurements, lots of different heels and toes. I'm just geeking out about this book, so I really want to like have a proper sit down with this. But you know, I've said that about a lot of books up here. You can't really see, but the top shelf of this shelf is just full of knitting books. I also have an ironing board that's now become a provisional table, which has like this tall pile of knitting books that there isn't any room for. If I knitted up with some of my yarn, there would be room in the shelf. And the last acquisition, it's a Christmas present for myself. It is the Opal sock calendar, well, sock yarn calendar, so they give you a little mini skein every day in Advent. It's big, freaking huge. So that is a thing that I will be treating myself with every day before Christmas. The one thing I didn't consider is that I am going to Norway on the 15th of December, so I will be dragging that box with me. It's going to take up a lot of suitcase space, which I guess means I will be freeing up a lot of suitcase space for my way back for yarn. Oh god, I shouldn't be saying that, I shouldn't be thinking that. But I do have this one purchase of yarn in Norway that I really want to do, and I had that in my mind both in Oslo and in Bergen. And I didn't do it then because I knew that I could do it when I go to Norway for Christmas. And that is getting a pile of black and white fenil yarn to work up this Roma shawl cape. It's gorgeous. I'm just going to sit aside to show you the photos because I'm going to make that thing one day. If it's 5 years from now and if it takes me 10 years to do it, I will do it because it's gorgeous. So just thought I would mention that. And you guys, that is truly everything I have for this episode. It is really quite a short one, but I have to say I'm quite happy that it is, because I really need to go to work. I need to go see IT to get things sorted with my software that I need to do my work. So that is what's next on my program. But in general, you know, do keep your eyes peeled for these mittens. Of course, I hope you enjoy these mittens. Oh my god, I almost forgot. I do have a new pattern out. Not as I speak, but definitely as this episode is coming out, there is a new pattern now. Oh god, it's a good thing that there was more room and time to say things. So, the new pattern that is coming out is the Christmas mystery pattern. So if you don't know, seriously, I thought I was going to wrap things up now, but here we go. I have designed a pair of mittens for Christmas that nobody will know what looks like until, I'm going to say, the 3rd of December. So the first of 5 cues will come out on the 19th of November. I will put the whole schedule out on the pattern publication, but basically you will be spending the 19th of November till the end of the year knitting these mittens, but the last queue will come out on the 3rd. So if you are a speedy knitter and you want to be able to wear these mittens during Christmas, you can of course do that. It's entirely up to you if you want to do them concurrently or one at a time. I will update the pattern with cues for each hand at the same time. The cuff is the same, so when you get the cuff, that's the same thing. As for colour choices, I'm sure you will be keen to know how you do that. I use rustic yarn. I have tried out Uradale 2-ply jumper weight, and I have tried, what's it just called, jumper weight? And I've tried PT2, and I've tried Roma Finulgarn. I'm sure Navio as well would work. And generally, I recommend having 3 colours. One that is a main colour for the cuff, that is in stark contrast to the contrast colour of the cuff, which you then use for the main colour of the hand, which is stark contrast to the contrast colour that you choose for a hand. So that is 3 colours altogether. I hope that was clear. So there's a contrast colour for the hand, but the main colour for the hand is the contrast colour for the cuff, and the main colour for the cuff is only used for the cuff. So just make sure the 2 colours you use at once are in high contrast. I am very excited about this. There will actually be kits for this at Wild and Woolly. I'm not sure when exactly they will be up, but if you are local in London, you can get kits there. It will be with the James and Smith 2-ply jumper weight yarn. So that is exciting. And yeah, speaking of Wild and Woolly, it was super nice for those of you who came over there to knit with me when we had this sort of knitting session last Saturday. Just thought I'd mention that. That was lovely. But yeah, the mystery mittens, I'm not sure I have much else to say other than that they are available on Ravelry. I of course have a special discount to those of you who are watching this video, so feel free to use that. And yeah, so yeah, now I'm ready to wrap things up. I am also trying to get the red Tuki wool socks, that pattern that I'm working up. It's being test knitted. Test knitters are really being better than me at finishing them at this point. I think maybe we'll have to look at the late November release for those socks, because I really just have knitted a half a sock right now, even though the pattern is pretty much done and ready. That's just me for you. But yeah, I am really going to wrap things up now and head to work. So hopefully I will get around to see any of you in Vancouver or New York. I haven't planned any meetups or anything of the like, but again, if that is something you're interested in, we can talk about that on Instagram or Ravelry. I'm sure the Ravelry group would be the best place to do that, because it's private enough and protected that I wouldn't be scared of like talking about these things in terms of being in public spaces and meeting strangers. And it's the more organized way of doing it as well. So that is just in case anyone's up for it. But I don't know when I will have time, because I'm going to a conference. Apparently that's the reason I'm going, and not yarn shops. Who knew? But yeah, I'm supposed to be wrapping this video up, so I think I will do that now and head to work. So hopefully I will see you either in Canada or the States or when I'm back. So bye.